What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 37 of Bettin and Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe, and what an unbelievable card we have to cover for you guys today. Not one, not two, but three stakes over $1 million this Saturday at Kentucky Downs. It could not be any more lively, and we're so appreciative that you guys are joining us today. But last weekend with Saratoga, giving out a few great scores last weekend, so congrats if you guys cashed on those. Patrick gave out a win bet on the number 8 on the 1s and 2s, so I believe went off at 7-2, 4-1, somewhere around there. I believe it's 3-1, 7-2. So congratulations if you cashed on that one. And I gave out a pretty decent, not to pat myself on the back or anything, but we're just going over it, people. On Travers Day, I gave out the nice double starting in race 10 into Bolshoi Ballet in that race. So congratulations if you cashed Echo Zulu into Bolshoi Ballet for a nice crisp 20-1. So congratulations if you guys cashed on any of those last week. And again, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I post every single race day that we talk about and that the main show talks about at AP Roscoe K. Please feel free to follow me over there if you so choose. But guys, we're going to get right into it as always. We're not going to waste anyone's time because this is a extremely good card and extremely tough card to cover. I mean, you know, there's a whole lot of horses that are and connections that are chasing this big money at Kentucky Downs. So it's going to draw a lot of horses, as we saw with the entries drawn for Saratoga on Saturday. And the Flower Bowl only has 4 horses. They're all coming over to Kentucky Downs to get a little bit of that $1 million money. But guys, like I said, underneath bettinandboozin@gmail.com is the email. Please email me with any questions, comments, and concerns. As it's scrolling down on the bottom right now, live tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, the flagship show, Howard, Pete, and Paul are going to be covering the late pick 5 at Del Mar on Saturday because, of course, it's Pacific Classic Day. Hopefully you guys can join us for that, as that's going to be a very, very good show as well. But guys, if you're more of an audio listener while going to the gym or, you know, driving anywhere and you don't want to watch the video, even though I highly recommend that you guys come over to YouTube, HHH Racing Podcast on YouTube, as we show all the PPs and everything like that. But Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor is where we show where we post not only every episode of Bettin and Boozin, but every single episode that goes up on the HHH Racing Podcast channel. Please go follow, rate, review, and subscribe over there. Guys, the normal power picks, you get 2 tracks a week, comes out to only $4 a weekend for 2 full tracks of spot plays, ABC grids, price plays, everything that you need to crush your bets on a weekend. The Power Picks has, and not to mention that over 250 picks, I believe now we're up to 270. We still have a positive ROI of 2.3. Anything above $2 is a profit. If you guys are missing out on these extremely cheap, extremely profitable Power Picks, like I said, you're missing out, and you need to head over to patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast to get your piece on that. And of course, this is the last weekend for Saratoga, which means it's the last weekend to get your Saratoga only Power Picks for not only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but we're giving away Monday as well to you guys if you guys sign up for free. That is going to be 4 cards for this weekend for $20 if you're not a Power Pick subscriber. And if you're an original Power Pick subscriber, that's 4 cards for only $15. Guys, if you're playing Saratoga this weekend, I couldn't recommend it more. We are heating up. We heated up probably 3 weeks ago, and we've kept it going ever since. If you're missing out, go to hhhracingpodcast.com and at the top of the screen, Power Picks tip sheet, and click on that and you'll see the sign up. Also, the link is in the description here. But guys, like I said, we're not going to waste anyone else's time. We're going to get right into this right after I go through a few comments. Trish Smith is here, handicapped the entire late pick 5 for tomorrow, just to realize the show's going over the Saturday card. Sorry, Trish. I know we usually do Fridays or sometime earlier in the week, but Saturday's PPs came out pretty early this week, as they do for a lot of the Kentucky racing. So sorry, Trish, to break the algorithm a little bit on you, but I appreciate the you looking at the PPs. Simon is here from across the pond. My friend Simon, thanks so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciated. Michael Lawson is here. Favorite meet? Absolutely. Even though the takeout issues, I won't touch on it too much. Although, you know, that is a little bit crap, but that's the way it goes. Jose, thank you so much for doing the show, my friend. Greatly appreciate you, all you guys joining in. No worries about the English, my friend, but I see you just posted down there in the chat. but we'll try our best to show as much as we can for you. But thanks so much, Jose, for joining the show. Tony Osmond is here. Thanks so much, man, for joining the show. I haven't seen your face in a while. So thanks so much. Greatly appreciate it. Terry Frank is here. I agree, Terry. My Kentucky Downs was a little rough, but we're refining it this year. It's going to turn over this year. But Jim is also here. Thanks so much, guys, for joining the show as always. But we're going to get right into it now as I bring in my co-host to go over the late pick 5. The usual guys, no Noah, but Noah will be on the show tomorrow for Pacific Classic being the West Coast guy. They had to get some West Coast knowledge in there. But of course, from New Jersey, Patrick Kunsel, and from Ohio State University, who's going to lose to Michigan later in the year, Charlie Freeman. Boys, what's going on?
What's going on?
What's up? I don't like that little shot right there, Kyle. It's too soon. We haven't even gotten to the college football start. When we start covering college football, fine, but it's a little too early for that.
No, I know. Trust me, it's a little early for that.
Irish.
Sam Hartman's the best quarterback in the country, man. I wanted Ohio State to go for him. I love Sam Hartman.
I'll see him when he plays a normal team that doesn't throw the ball once in 60 minutes, but.
Hey, don't disrespect our troops. Hold on.
I'm not disrespecting the troops.
They play a different style of game. It's hard to prepare for, man. Everybody plays a different run.
Well, when you lose 54-3, it's not exactly the greatest look in the world. But guys, we're gonna go right into this. Tony, no worries at all. Andrew Clausen, I believe the ROI on the power picks right now for the entirety of when we've been doing them, I believe it's almost 280 picks now. I believe the ROI is 2.26. I believe is the ROI. If you want to look at hhhracingpodcast.com under the Power Picks tip sheet, we have a bunch of previous sheets. If you want to take a look at them, those are there for you as well. But guys, we're going to get right into it here. I see a lot of people in the chat, so thank you guys so much for joining in. But the late pick 5 on Saturday starts. I was almost going to say Friday since we're still used to doing Fridays, but on Saturday starts in race number 7 is a maiden special weight for $150,000 that they're offering at Kentucky Downs this year, which shout out to the boys at Crownsway Racing. Hopefully we get a piece of that $150,000. Hopefully we get the biggest piece of the $150,000 tomorrow. We have a horse in the last race tomorrow at Kentucky Downs. Copper Missile actually draws in the 6th hole as the morning line favorite for $150,000 maiden special weight. So usually when you draw in as the favorite, you have a pretty good shot. And he ran extremely well last time at Colonial, looking for Kelsey to continue her hot run at Colonial. She seems like she's been winning everything over there. But guys, hopefully he gets a good run. Good luck to all the other owners. Copper Missile, including the man on the screen right here, Howard Kravitz. So we are going to hopefully get a winner tomorrow. But I want to bring up real quick for those of you that don't know about Kentucky Downs, this is the layout for Kentucky Downs. It's a mile and a quarter, I believe, and up the hill, down the hill, every which way. It is a funky layout for sure. But the one thing that I usually like to play at Kentucky Downs is these 6.5 furlongs that they have carded usually play more like a mile, and the mile-long turf races can play even longer, up to like a mile and an eighth. Just going up the hill and then back down the hill, it tends to play a little bit more distance than what is carded on the screen. So keep that in mind. And a lot of people also look at horse for course in this place like this, because some horses really like Kentucky Downs and they really take to it in the hills, and others just really don't. So that's two things to keep in mind about Kentucky Downs when you're looking through your PPs and going through them. There's a lot and like Michael Lawson in the chat loves the track, and there's some people that absolutely despise the track. So it's not only horses, but there's also people. It's either way, it's like 50-50 split down the way. Simon O'Neill, Howard couldn't pull off a shirt like Kyle's wearing. My dad, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Roscoe. My dad pulled out this shirt on Sunday, and he's like, "This is for your birthday," and I forgot to give it to you, so we had to rock it on the podcast. Shout out to Bill Roscoe out there. I know you're watching. Thanks so much for getting me the shirt. And Michael Lawson, I see your chat. You were one of my favorite viewers, but now you're not. Now you've been demoted a little bit now that you're not using Copper Missile. But it's okay. It's fine. You can use the Chad when he goes off at 3-1 and loses to Copper. It's fine. Or I could eat my words tomorrow, but we'll see how it goes. But guys, we're going to get into it right now. Again, $150,000 maiden special weight with the morning line favorite being the number 3 Beer Run for John Velasquez and Wesley Ward. And you wouldn't think, obviously you think of Wesley Ward as a very good trainer, but you wouldn't think he has this type of ROI. In the last 3 years with over 20 starters, Wesley Ward has a 2.79 ROI, winning at 24%. So Wesley Ward usually has his horses cranked up, always for Kentucky, but especially for the big money that comes at Kentucky Downs. So that's one thing to keep in mind about Wesley. And as we bring up the picks, I would be willing to take a wild guess who one person on this screen has, but there's one wild card here, as Patrick having 3 horses that Charlie and I have absolutely nowhere on the board.
Did you do the right race?
He must have. I mean, look, Elegant Tripp is a good horse. He has to take back to what he did before. But Patrick, that's who you're going with. You're going with the number 4, Elegant Tripp.
Yeah, listen, like you said, in your intro about this this course, some horses take to it, some don't. I like Elegant Tripp. This horse is meant for the turf. They tried to run this horse last out at Ellis Park on the turf. It got scratched off. Watching the replay, the horse, got out of the gate well. It was a 4-horse field, but the horse, showed me that it had some speed. Was almost 3-1 in that race. Arnold, Rusty Arnold, the trainer, is fantastic with second time out maidens. And I just like the cutback in distance here. I know you kind of alluded to, I'm not as well versed in it as you are with the distance and how it might play with the hills. But I do like the cutback in distance for this 4-horse.
The cutback is definitely going to be one thing, but as we stated, a lot of these tracks, like two Kentucky Downs, usually end up playing more like a mile. So that's the one thing that you got to look for. And obviously this horse was always meant for the turf, as this one was taken off at Ellis Park, probably August 12th. That's a little later. I'm still salty about Smokin' Jay's race getting taken off the turf for the that sprinkler problem that they had. But look, Elegant Tripp, that 72 is very telling. And if he can continue to improve and takes to the turf, Elegant Tripp is definitely not impossible whatsoever in this spot. This race is just, there's so many different ways that you can go. Charlie, you have the number 3 Beer Run on top for Wesley Ward, of course, the morning line favorite. I'm assuming you're just hoping that he runs back to the 84.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my angle. I like, John Velasquez making the trip out to Kentucky Downs and Wesley Ward bringing the horse over. I do believe that Beer Run is the most consistent speed of the speed and should be the one that I think will ultimately be able to get the trip, get out to the lead. You see John Velasquez is consistently ridden this horse. The horse is working forwardly, which is good to see because, we've highlighted this before on the show that typically Wesley Ward has his horses ramped up and ready to go. So, if you don't see strong workouts for him, it's a lot more of a scare because normally his horses are ready to go. But you see with the minute flat for 5 furlongs, that Beer Run looks to be working forwardly. I do believe a bounce back effort is certainly possible and would, in my opinion, definitely anywhere near that 84 figure would be strong enough to win this race. There is some other speed in this race as well, but for me, just speed for that distance. The only other one that really sticks out to me is like the 4, but it's hard because speed, when you show that at a mile, is obviously not the same as 5-6 furlong speed. You're going to, it's a whole different ball game there. And then the one horse who I do think is interesting, I have in my top 3, also has shown speed. Just for me, the concern is kind of the horse sometimes ends up like sitting a little bit back. So even though it shows the 105, I don't really think the past figures really indicate Cigarette Boat to be quite that fast. And then the other horse I really like here, though, from a trip perspective, which I want to let you obviously talk on more because you have on top, is the 12 horse. I really think Straight and Level is an interesting horse and ran really nice on debut and is working incredibly well. And, picks up Jared Loveberry, who we know is an Arlington legend, most famous, though, for those who don't watch Arlington, for his ride on 2 fills, which was impressive through the injuries he was pushing through. But yeah, I'm curious to see what you think, because I thought Straight Level 6-1 was crazy good value. Like that for me would be the value play for me. I think the 12 could have a great trip.
Yep, and that's correct. Calic Rome, I don't think I've seen your name before. Thanks so much for doing the show, my friend. Greatly appreciate it. Elegant Tripp isn't also eligible for tomorrow's race. So if he does get in, obviously he won't be running here. That's one thing to keep in mind. But we're going to assume that he's not going to get in tomorrow with any scratches and that he will run in this spot, of course. But I love the number 12 Straight and Level in this spot. You mentioned the trip. I think this horse, he wasn't bet he was only bet 21-1 last time out, but gets on the turf where if I go to Fly Swift, I mean, Fly Swift for Christophe Clement was a very nice, it was a very decent turf horse in her own right. And you see, look at these turf route numbers. This was for the siblings. If I switch over here, Finery for Arnaud Delacour at Tampa. This was earlier in 2022. Haven't seen since, but broke her maiden going routing on the turf at Tampa, and then wins an optional claiming by 5 3/4 at Tampa, going a mile. And as I stated before, this 6.5 plays longer. I'm very, very interested in the number 12 straight level. And Will Craig actually puts in scratches already out for tomorrow. Can Tripp scratch for tomorrow. Thank you so much, Will. Greatly appreciate you joining the show, because again, there's a lot of new people here, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining the show. Smash that like button and please hit subscribe, as we are live every single Wednesday and Thursday covering all good races all over the country. So please subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, Will, Calichrome, Vashon, thanks guys so much for joining the show. We really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm very, very interested in the number 12 straight level, not to mention how good he has been working in his last 3 works. But moving along, Patrick, I'm going to let you finish up here, and then we'll move on. The number 9 Spanish Doubloon, who I also saw Terry Frank is interested a lot in the chat. The number 9 Spanish Doubloon for Mark Cassie and Jose Ortiz. Mark Cassie is obviously very good, a very good trainer in his own right where he runs, but at Kentucky Downs, he's a little bit down. I'm going to get the number right now for you guys, but talk to us about why you like Spanish Doubloon.
Yeah, this horse last out was coming off a long layoff for Mark Cassie. And, honestly, I'm going to put a scratch through that race. The horse just didn't run much at all. The pace was, the horse came back and ran a slow speed figure. And I think this horse is just better. I looked 2 back and the horse, showed me something and was bet that day. And actually did run at Kentucky Downs last year at this time. And the horse ran pretty well at this distance. So I think at 12-1, I'll take odds. The horse's odds are probably going to stay around there. I'm not sure how much the odds fluctuate at Kentucky Downs. But I think at 12-1, I think this horse could be a decent bet. And then the 8 Autocrat for Asmussen and Christian Torres. Listen, this horse is going to have to improve. But Asmussen actually underratedly has good turf numbers this year. He's striking at a way better rate than he ever has before. And I think this horse should not be 20-1 in a race where, I get you guys like the 12. I see why you do. And then the 3 for Wesley Ward, the horse just hasn't won. I mean, I'll let that horse beat me at those odds in a field like this. So, I'm going to try elsewhere and, see if a horse can improve like the 9 for Cassie or even the 8 at decent odds.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're going to get decent odds on, hopefully Can Tripp will probably take a lot of money just based on speed figure alone. And of course, how good Rusty Arnold has been in the past few months. Can Tripp will take money, but your prices are definitely coming between the 9 and the 8. So if you get either one of those homes, which Kentucky Downs is obviously known for popping a really good one every now and again, that one could be very, very interesting on your card. And the last horse I'll talk about before I move on, I'll talk about really quick, is number 2, Most Saturdays. Al Stahl, Corey Lannery. This is just one that if someone's there to pick up the pieces, I get it's a little bit shorter, but it plays longer. As I keep saying, I really like Most Saturdays for the horse that if the pace does melt down, I think he's going to be one to pick up the pieces. No other really good data other than trip wise, but Most Saturdays could definitely be there at the end, and it's not one I would want to hold out from my underneath plays in exactas or trifectas. But guys, I'm going 12-3-2, Patrick's going 4-9-8, and Charlie's going 3-12-1. Guys, switching over to the next race. This is the Gunrunner Stakes, a listed stake for $1 million. And I'll tell you guys, I think this is one of the best. I think this is the best race on the entire card. I really do. And I'll switch over to the Equibase right now. It draws a field of 10. The morning line favorite is to the outside, the number 9, Wadsworth for Florent Giroux, Brad Cox. But I mean, look, you have Talk of the Nation in here, Georgie W., who ran in the Indiana Derby last time, Major Dude, Wadsworth. I mean, Escape Artist. There's just some very, very good horses in this race. And as I switch over the picks right now, you'll see two of us are going with the number 6, Talk of the Nation, while Charlie, the chalk-eating weasel himself, is going with the number 9, Wadsworth for Brad Cox. Charlie, I'll let you go ahead, talk about why you think that we are wrong and you're going to be right with Wadsworth.
Yeah, so I mean, I have to give you credit. You really went out to, be aggressive. You and Patrick going with the 3-1 instead of the 5-2 in terms of avoiding the chalk. So I'm very proud of you. That was a big step out. For a while, on a more serious note, for Wadsworth, honestly, my angle was again going back to why I think the 12 could surprise at a price in the race before. Is just the right trip. For the horses I was debating between, I really like Highway Robber at those 5-1 odds, but I just think the horse is just a very deep closer. And the worry for me is I don't think that horse will get there quite in time, as you saw happened when Highway Robber ran just behind Wadsworth. And then for Talk of the Nation, who I think is a very talented horse, and you want to talk about consistent with the figures, but the only concern I have is when this horse came back off the layoff, just is always right there, but then just doesn't quite get the strong finish. Was at 30 cents and lost by a length. And then last time out was, again, right there at the front and then lost by a length and a half. So ultimately, I just kind of saw a horse that looks like probably won't get there in time because of a lack of early speed. And then another horse that will be right around there the whole time, but doesn't seem to be able to hold on lately. So I went for the horse that is getting the job done. You look at Wadsworth, lost by a nose after just having too much work to do, but then the last 2 times out was able to get there in time and get the job done. And that's what I'm looking for. For horses that are short prices, I want the one that has the right connection with the jockey trainer, that's getting the job done, that also is still putting up the figures. And again, I think it's not like you're getting much more value if you go with the 6 or the 10. So go with the one you like the most.
No, I mean, absolutely. In this spot, you're going to get value, I think, no matter what. I think Wadsworth will get every bit of that 5-2, just with the horses that are right behind him in Major Dude and Talk of the Nation, who are very good horses in their own right. Wadsworth just could sit that trip. I think he's going to be a little bit farther back than both Major Dude and Talk of the Nation. And if they go fast up front, Wadsworth's going to be the one that's going to be running from behind. And trust me, if you're going fast up front and you have to hold off a horse like Wadsworth, that's not a very good position to be in. Charlie, you have the horse that Patrick and I both have on top, the number 6, Talk of the Nation, on top for Shug McGahee, Jose Ortiz, 3 straight 90 buyers. I mean, that Columbia was just extremely impressive. Then loses by 1 to Bapio, who shout out Otago. Otago beat Bapio. So therefore, if you're playing the transitive property for all you math people out there, Talk of the Nation, Otago is better than Talk of the Nation, but and then comes back in the Manila, loses to More Than Looks. Look, just very good company, and that Talk of the Nation has been running against, and I think he sets a really nice trip. Patrick.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, Talk of the Nation. Yeah, you hit it. The competition this horse has faced has been, tremendous. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Shug had this horse entered at Saratoga in a good race, but got taken off from weather, of course. Next step was here, and being a Kentucky bred that this horse is, you're going to get you'll get that good payday if you win, also as a bonus. And the horse has been training fantastic. And I like this horse is very tactical. Can sit on or near the lead, or you can sit off of it, and if the pace is too quick. So I'm a big fan of Talk of the Nation on Saturday.
I've always been a big fan of Talk of the Nations, to be really honest with you, and I've chased him, especially that last race in the Manila where he lost to More Than Looks. More Than Looks just passed by him on the outside after being a little bit too close, but beating horses like Nagarok, Turf King, Mustache. I mean, this horse has beaten some very, very nice blooming horses. And if he can sit a really nice trip in this spot at a mile, and this one's at a mile at Kentucky Downs, I don't think going a little bit longer necessarily hurts him, as long as he gets the really nice stalking trip I think he'll get from the 6th hole. But Patrick, I'll let you finish up with the number 2, Highway Robber, who actually you and Charlie both have in 3rd. This one for Brian Lynch. Jamie Spencer coming over to ride, most likely for the Euro in the Mint Million. But Jamie Spencer picks up this mount, and I mean, that's got to be one type of tell for you.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, the horse's last 2 races at Ellis, the horse really has not been bet and has outrun its odds completely. A 5-1 morning line. That's obviously a big difference from last out. Lost to Wadsworth, but listen, this horse has run solid. Makes a bit of improvement, and this horse I think will hit the board. And is probably going to come from out of it.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to come out of it, and this is your one. This is the one that I always say, is where's the one that's going to be coming from the behind? And if the pace melts down, Highway Robber is definitely going to be there. Jamie Spencer, I'm sure, although that's another one people love to hate on is Jamie Spencer, but I'm sure he'll get a nice covered up trip for Highway Robber. And if he continues to improve, which he's done every single race since that Churchill race last year, I think he'll be extremely good in this spot. But I actually went with the number 10 in second, Major Dude, who is another horse that I really liked all the way through. The last two have been a little bit short on figures wise, but going back to that Penn Mile, that American Turf, I know he doesn't like to necessarily win and get it done, but I think outside posts at Kentucky Downs have generally been very good. And if he can run back to a 90, low 90s buyer somewhere in there under a really nice trip with Tyler aboard as he was last time, he's not going to face a Silver Knot in this spot or a Nagarock or anything like that. I think he'll set a very nice trip. And hopefully, if he doesn't win, get up and stay, or at least get up to stay in the money. But I'm going 6-10-9. Patrick's going 6-9-2. Charlie's going 9-6-2. Guys, switching over the PPs, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I have a freaking fantasy draft going on right now that they decided to, even though I told them I have a podcast on Wednesday, they still decided to freaking do it in the middle. So I apologize if I'm looking over to my left as I have beeping in my ear constantly, but we're switching over to race number
clock.
9. Yeah, which is my favorite. And I'm sure a lot of other people's favorite sponsor for a horse race, the Big Ass Fans Music City Stakes, for another $1 million. This draws a full field of 12 for 3-year-old fillies going 6.5 furlongs, with the morning line favorite being actually to the outside, who I was a little interested in why she was made the favorite, but LJ's Emma, for Corey Lannery, Eddie Keneally, and on the inside, Dancer Macabre for Adam Beshizzle and Kelsey Danner. As I switch over the picks right now, we are going with two of us are going with Dancer Macabre on the inside, but Patrick's going with the number 7, Secret Money. Charlie has her in third, but this is one where I actually have nowhere, but can definitely see why you have her on your ticket, at least, especially on top. What'd you like most about Secret Money?
Yeah, I really like the horse in the Lake George. Faced that was a Chad Brown Invitational. It was on a yielding turf course. I thought the horse ran pretty big. On the lead, facing some tough competition. I don't know how good of a field this is, and I just think that if Secret Money can improve off that last race, which the horse pretty much seemingly has done after every race, picks up Tyler, has been working well on the turf. I think this horse at 5-1's, a very, very good bet.
Yeah, I mean, look, 5-1 is definitely going to be your value in this type of spot. I love that Tyler hops on this horse. He's very aggressive. We'll set up a really nice trip for Secret Money, and Walsh has been as hot as they come. So with Secret Money, I'm sure, Charlie, that's what you saw, but we'll get to you in a second. I'm sure that's what you saw in Secret Money as well. But out of the Lake George, I mean, search capacity, tax implications, you got two very nice horses, although neither of them really came back to run too well in their next start. But Secret Money looks to continue to improve off that 86, maybe a low 90s, high 80s is the next step, which could win this race for Secret Money. But Charlie, you and I both have the number 1, Dancer Macabre, in first. I mean, that last race in the Memzo, granted it was back in May, but that race was extremely telling to me for Dancer Macabre. And going back up to 6.5 furlongs, I don't think the added distance is going to be any type of issue.
No, I feel the same way. I think this is a horse where, you've talked about this, so have I, Pat. We've all talked about this on the show about the idea of versatility. This is a horse that really has shown different. I know the horse always stalks, but kind of shows different ways. You see certain races where the horse might sit 3, 4, 4.5 lengths or so off the lead, and other races where the horse is just directly behind. Where she's directly behind the leaders and then moves. And for me, that's what I kind of like. Is I think that depending on how the race goes, she could, if there's not as much pace, sit right behind those leaders if they're kind of holding everybody up, and then be the one with the first action. And if the pace does tend to, end up like heating up and go faster than expected, I think the one won't panic at all. And it'll just, she'll sit a little farther back and then make the move. But I also love the continuous rise in the figures, seen from that 70, which would obviously not give the horse a shot, to an 81, to an 84, and then a 91. The horse is just steadily improving. I like the reuniting with the jockey as well, because clearly he's finding more and more out of the horse. I honestly thought this. I have nothing. I like the 10, obviously. So do you, to an extent, because we both have it in the top 3. But I really thought, when I was looking through this before I saw the odds, I thought the 1 was a pretty clear favorite in my eyes.
I obviously share the same sentiment with you. As I don't mind LJ's Emma. I have her in 3rd. But I thought that last race for Dan's Macabre was going to award this horse favoritism, which maybe it will come on Saturday. But gets the rail again, as she had back at Kentucky Downs last year, where she won in the Untappable. I mean, this horse, Dan's Macabre likes Kentucky Downs, gets Bashizzle My Nizzle back up. I love only improving very steadily. Kelsey thinks very high of Dan's Macabre, has basically passed every single test that she's had, and this is going to be the next step. If she continues to improve and pops a mid-90s buyer, I think it's going to be very tough in a field like this. I'm very interested in Dan's Macabre on top. But Charlie, I'll let you finish out here with the number 10, who I have in 3rd, who's LJ's Emma, and then Patrick, I'll let you do and move on. But the number 10, LJ's Emma, popped a 92 last race in the Galway, has won 3 in a row. Obviously did lose to Secret Money, but that was a maiden race. She will be stretching out a little more distance, but I don't think that's going to be an issue for her either.
No, not at all. I think LJ's Emma is very talented. I mean, you see from the works, the horse is absolutely flying. I mean, 48-2 and 35-3. Horse is definitely working forwardly into this spot. I don't think the distance will be any problem at all. Again, even though with the time form, it would look like the horse is more of a speed horse, where it would be a concern. But you see last time out, the horse sat a really nice stalk and trip and made the move. And again, I mean, look, it was also impressive. The horse was 17-1 that day. So clearly the public didn't see that win coming. And again, I completely see from the step forward of the figures. I mean, you could argue LJ's Emma has a very, very, very similar path to the 1 horse in terms of the steady progression in figures, in the 70s to the 80s, and then pops figure in the 90s. I just think, for me, I do think you'll get around these odds. I just personally want it to go in a different direction. As you mentioned, I also like the fact that the 1 has the experience at Kentucky Downs. As you touched on at the beginning of the show, it is a weirdly shaped track. The distance doesn't always run the same. And I do think, to an extent, at this track, maybe more than others, it does play a role to have that experience. And the one horse I wanted to ask you about, I'm a little surprised you didn't have Mohawk Trail anywhere, just because I know you have your bias towards Kelsey Danner, and I think that's another solid horse in this spot too. I know I didn't include the horse, but I thought that was certainly an interesting one at a reasonable price.
He is, and I will talk, or sheep. Take a drink, everybody. You know the rules. That's strike 1 for me, but Mohawk Trail is extremely interesting, and I will talk about her when we get to her. Kelsey has 2 very live horses in this race, I think.
Agreed.
And it's good that, she's finally getting, basically the whole NBS stable is coming over to Kentucky Downs. But hey, I'm for it. Get that money, especially Copper Missile. But Patrick, I'm going to let you go, and then I'll finish up. You have the number 1, Dan's Macabre, in 2nd, but you have the number 9, A Seed, in 3rd. Chad Brown. I think this might just be in Chad we trust, but she's running very good races, obviously, between the Acorn, the 8 Bells, and the Wilton. Losing behind Randomized, who we all know what Randomized did in their next start. But you're just assuming that this move over to the turf will help us Seed.
Yeah, exactly right. And pretty much, full disclosure, I bet this horse at Belmont in the Acorn. The horse didn't run as well, just that competition was too good. And then, I bet the horse in the Wilton and Randomized, obviously, wire to wire. That wasn't even a competition. interests me. The dirt to turf. We'll see what happens, and then the route to sprint. I think this horse gets back to the 6.5 furlongs, one on debut at 6. If the horse could take to the turf, the distance should not be a problem. Show some more early speed, and I think she has a shot. But this is a lot of things have to go her way.
I mean, definitely, and I mean, this is. Like I said, if I were to play a seed, which I'm not going to, I don't think that she's necessarily bred for the turf. That work didn't do anything for me on the turf. This would be an Chad I trust play, and I don't know, this is a horse where I'm kind of shying away because I'm sure she'll take some money being Chad on the turf, but I think Chad thought this horse was meant for dirt the entire way through, obviously with the company she's been running in. But now I think Chad's kind of, after that last race, especially in the Wilton, I think he's kind of just saying, well, let's throw on the turf and see what happens, which obviously could be a good move for Chad, but I'm willing to take a spot against her with some very nice fillies in this spot by herself. But I'm very, very interested in the number 11 Bling underneath, who, and I know I see what you're saying, Michael Austin, in the set at 10-1, I agree with you. But like I said, it's just more for me as an Chad I trust, which I'm willing to go other ways when there's very nice horses anywhere else. But 10-1 is a good price if you want to take a shot. I'm way more interested in the number 11 Bling. I love the outside post. I like that she's going to be towards the front. Those last 3 races, I know they look slow on paper, but running at a mile and an eighth, they cut back a little bit to 6.5 in this spot. Hopefully we'll get her speed up to snuff. And if she can get to the front, we saw it last year with One Timer. I mean, if she can get out to the front, they can stay up there. And Bling, if she improves to a high 80s buyer off that last pucker up where she lost to Safine, who's a very nice horse in her own right, I think Bling is extremely interesting for Victoria Oliver, especially with these works that we've seen these last 3 times at Keeneland. I would love to see Bling clear and get to the front, as there's not too much speed in this spot, but there is a decent amount. I'm going 1-11-10 in this spot. Patrick's going 7-1-9, and Charlie is going 1-10-7. Guys, I will switch over to the feature of the day, the Mint Million Stakes. It is for not $1, but $2 million. Grade 3, going 1 mile on the Kentucky Downs Curve course, draws a full field of 12, as a lot of these fields are. They fill up really quickly. The morning line favorite is, of course, the number 10, Annapolis, for Tyler Gaffleone, Todd Pletcher. Just based on name recognition alone, she's definitely going to be that price. And I mean, look, losing behind Casa Creed in these last 2 is nothing to be short of. And I'll spare everybody the game that we have running. We are all going with Annapolis, but I'm very, very interested in a horse underneath. But we will get to that in a little bit. Charlie, I'll let you talk about Annapolis first, as Patrick went first last time. I mean, look, there's not too much you have to say about him. He's the real deal.
I mean, yeah, look, you can't be too disappointed. I'll be honest, I am, just because both times when when Annapolis ran against Casa Creed, I made it very clear that I believed Annapolis was the better horse and would win. And look, I still stand by on the race on July 15th that Annapolis could have potentially been the best horse, just did not get the right trip at all. As the boss man Howard even mentioned, right when that race started, you could tell Annapolis was in trouble, just did not get the right break. But then you look, I mean, the horse was bet down to favoritism again, so everybody thought that Annapolis would win next time out. Got the right trip, 0 excuses, still ran an incredible race. It's just Casa Creed, as we like to say in the younger people, Casa Creed is just like that, Yeah, Annapolis just isn't quite at that level, but that's okay. I mean, that's the top of the top. And compared to this field, for me, it's as simple as this. There is no Casa Creed level horse in this field. There's no boogeyman for Annapolis to be scared of. The horse just has to break fine, run its race, and Tyler Gaffleone will get this horse home to win and win comfortably. And that's nothing against this field. I still think it's a very talented field. And I am happy. And I look forward to you talking about the 5 later on, because that was a horse I thought about throwing in. But I'm wondering if the horse you think is interesting, because it's a horse that really interested me, was the horse from overseas, Ancient Rome, who I have in third, that I think is a great price.
Funny enough, you
I'll let
say
you
that.
talk on that first because
No, you're good.
That's really my spiel on Annapolis. I mean, the figures are consistent. Clearly, the horse to beat. But I'm curious what you have to say about the 6.
No, there's nothing, there's nothing really to say about Annapolis. He really is the real deal. And if he sits a good trip, he's definitely the most likely winner in this spot. And the number 6, Ancient Rome, is who I'm very interested in. Although my favorite overseas viewer, Simon O'Neill, gives me the not Ancient Rome. So that doesn't make me feel too good. But
me neither.
But look, I watched that last race at Goodwood, and it did take him a long while to get going. But once he got going, I mean, he flew past. I mean, I know his listed stake and he was 33-1, but that last race was very telling. I think the turn of foot that this horse has. And if you go back to 2021, I mean, the Fontainebleau Prix at Longchamp, the 2000 Guineas. I mean, this horse was losing two lengths to Modern Games, who won the French 2000 Guineas that year. Was second and third in Group 1s in France, 2 years ago. Granted, I don't know if he's that type of horse now, although he did run his best time form rating by far last time out at Goodwood. Coming over here, I'm not sure this race is as good as you think it is, Charlie. I think it's kind of slightly on the lower side for this type of race, especially for the Mint Million. I just think Ancient Home is very interesting underneath. And if he gets the right trip set up, I think with the pace that's in front of him, which there is a decent amount of it, I think Ancient Rome is very, very interesting in a spot like this. But I'll let you touch on him before we move on, but I'll go to Patrick first. Patrick, you have the number 8 Churchtown in second, and so does Charlie. I mean, look, those last 3 races, 96, 96, 95. Last race in the Connaughton Cup up at Woodbine, ran 4th at Dream Shake and War Bomber, who are 2 very good horses in their own right. I mean, look, 2 back, only lost to a head by Annapolis.
Yep, exactly right. And that's what I looked at that replay 2 back. When I saw that, it gave me the inclination that this horse, could run big. It has been training well. I do look out last back in that race at Woodbine. The horse didn't really run too much. I don't know what that was about, but I just think Churchtown, if this horse can repeat 2 back, could have Annapolis, depending on how Annapolis comes back off those tough beats against my best friend Casa Creed.
Yeah, well, look, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. And Churchtown is very interesting. Again, that's another one that wants to be towards the front. So I'm not sure how the trip will work out for Churchtown. But if he does his best running in the clear, so if he can get clear of the rest of these horses, he's very interesting. Although I don't think he needs the lead. You can look back at his back form. Mm-hmm. He has done well rating a little bit off the pace, but I think his best running is done when he's on the front end. But Churchtown is extremely interesting. And you have the number 2 in Atone, which is a lot of love in the chat for Atone. But what'd you like most about him?
Yeah, this old son of a gun. No,
no kidding.
Almost $1.1 million earner. Atone. This horse just runs and runs and runs. It's unbelievable. This horse has run on Kentucky Downs turf before and has run pretty well, actually. I believe in this exact race last year. So listen, if this horse can run back to some of its previous races, it fits right in. But that's to be determined, and the horse will have to improve. You could say this horse's better days are behind him, but the horse has been training well, so I'm not losing to this horse. Let me put it that way.
I don't disagree with you. I think horizontally, I would have to have Atone on there, although I do think his best running is behind him, and I think he does want longer than this. I don't know if he necessarily wants a mile, although he has done really well at it in the past. I think 1 1/8, as he's gotten older, has become his type of distance. But Atone is extremely interesting for sure. Charlie, I'll let you finish up with your with a little anything you want to add on Ancient Rome before we move on.
Yeah, no, I want to make a little clear. So, I certainly think obviously Annapolis is the horse to be. I kind of meant more so as in, like, in my opinion, I think there's a lot of interesting horses at good prices after. Like if you are on our side and that Annapolis is should be the clear-cut winner, there are a lot of interesting contenders in this field that are similar in, ability where you can find those value and odds. And I think Ancient Rome is the most value. But again, as Patrick touched on, I really do like the 8. But the one slight worry I have with Churchtown is the value, simply because I think, as you mentioned, a horse that needs to get right out there. I think Luis Saez, in my opinion, is the best in the business at being a clean, aggressive rider to get those horses out there. And I think that's what made Churchtown run to those abilities. Nothing against Leparoux. I just don't think it'll be the same ability. But yeah, as Ancient Rome, you kind of already touched on it. But look, ran in tough races, has solid form. I know you have to discount those figures, and the time form ratings in Europe are higher than they should be. But even when you do the reduction, it's good enough to be competitive here. And then the only little horse I wanted to touch on real quick that you have in your top 3 but didn't was, I think, Smoking Tea from a Tripp perspective is again, we've talked about in earlier races, another one that's interesting. That's run great figures. I think certainly could get a good trip to, at the very least, be in and around the money. Is working forwardly, and if you do believe in this horse to be another contender underneath, I think you'll get every bit of that 9-2. I mean, if you really do believe, like how I would personally play this race is, if you believe in Annapolis the way we all do, there's probably not going to be much value on the money line. But if you find the right horse that you want to put underneath, certainly all these horses we're talking about are 4, 5, 8-1. There's plenty of value to like here.
I agree with you. Wait, and I agree with Smoking Tea, but wait, I'm getting a little bit of interference. Can you guys hear me? Good? You guys good?
Yeah.
Good. Wait. Oh, yeah? Okay. I think I got word that we have a surprise guest waiting in the background to talk about his biggest. I was quoted as, this is the biggest opinion of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to that again. The biggest
play of the year. We got a play of the
year. Sitting in the bullpen right now. I'm going to bring him in right now. The boss himself, Howard Kravitz. Howard, what's going on, my friend?
Boys. Oh, boy. Listen, I talked to Kyle earlier today. I said, Kyle, I have to come on the show for 5 minutes. Let me just clear a few things up. First of all, Patrick, your best friend, Casa Creed. I'm insulted. All right, anyway, moving on from that. Number 2. The last time I was on this show, do you guys remember when I was on this show? I actually sang on air.
Yeah.
It was in February. Who's the horse? You guys remember the horse? It was at Gulfstream for Billy Mott, Patrick, your boy Billy Mott.
Yes.
It was Rocket Can.
Yeah.
I came on the show. I loved Rocket Can so much. I had to come on the show. He won at 5-2. Now, listen, I'm wrong just like the next guy. But if I could toot our own horn just a second, on the power picks, my plays of the week have been extremely good for 2 years. Guys, I love a horse so much in this race, I got to come and tell you guys about it. I've already sent this horse peppermints. I've sent him carrots. I love the number 8 Churchtown.
Ooh.
Love this horse. Now, I'm only going to talk for a few minutes. I'll let you guys get back to the show. But, Kyle, can we go to Annapolis first for a second?
Yes, of course.
All right. Guys, what odds is Annapolis going to be at post time? 4-5?
I'd say even money, 4-5. Yeah, even money.
It's 6-5. So, yeah.
Okay,
even
whatever.
Money.
Let me just point out a few things. I bet this horse the last 2 times, so I'm not an Annapolis hater. And, yes, he's lost to Casa Creed twice. Guys, he carries 126. He's coming back in 3 weeks. Kyle, scan down the PPs in his career. His whole career is on the screen. When does he come back in 3 weeks? Annapolis.
I'll give you an easy answer to that question.
All you guys. When does he come back in 3 weeks? I'll answer for you. Never. He's never come back this quickly. Now, people are going to say, Howard, that's because he's feeling so good. I'll tell you why he's coming back, guys. It's a freaking $2 million race. That's why he's coming back. I know he hasn't worked since. Can he win? I mean, of course he can win. Has he raced at Kentucky Downs yet? No. How much better is he really, guys, than everyone else in this field? Really? Look at his speed figs. Okay, he popped a 103 in last year. He popped a 100. Guys, he got a dream trip last time.
Yep.
Dream trip. You're telling me he's going to run better than he did in that race? He's going to run a mid-90s. He's going to get beat. He is no. Wow. Easy. Well, you don't know it was going to be on the show tomorrow night, but no, he just blew the chance. Just kidding, Noah. Anyway, let me just move on, guys. He's not going to run better
Yep.
Unless he loves Kentucky Downs, he's not running better. This is a total fade for me, guys. I'd use him underneath. I'm not using him on the wind end. Toss out of the pick 5. Let's go to Churchtown.
Wow.
Patrick, you said you don't understand why I didn't run well. Kyle, please.
Yep.
For everything that is holy. For everything that is
Absolutely.
holy, get the Churchtown reference. For everything that is holy, can we please watch Emma Jane Wilson, who rode this horse in the stretch run?
Emma Jane
Just
Rosario.
go to the top of the stretch and watch the 2. Okay, everyone go to the stretch and watch the 2, and I will shut my mouth. Everyone see the 2? Okay, I will be silent. You guys tell me what you see.
I mean, I'll tell you, I said Emma Jane Rosario. You'll see her on the inside, and whoop. Now where are you going to go, Emma? Now she tries to cut up again on the inside, and whoop. Still can't get through.
That's not even the end of it. It gets worse.
Nope, it's not. Yep.
If you can believe it. Watch this.
I mean, it's just
I just see someone who wanted the horse, get some warmth and
again.
become friends and, bump into some horses, get to know them a little, get to know their personalities. That's what I saw. I don't think it was all that bad. I don't think it was
that was bad. That was bad.
I am a little better. I'm a little bitter. I bet the horse, but guys, that horse just got into 4 lengths of trouble and had 3 steadies. Correct?
Yep.
I understand the Leperoux hatred for some people. I don't really know why. He's not as good as he used to be. He's going to stalk the pace off of a tone and the 3. He's going to get a great trip. Outside posts are good.
No.
And he's going to win this race at, 7-2, whatever. And I'll take it. 8, 5, 10. I like smoking tea also. 8, 5, 10. The Euro, by the way, did not explode, Kyle. I'm going to respectfully disagree, in my opinion. I think the soft ground in the 1.25 miles really helped.
Yep.
He did run well, and he's faced good horses going a mile early in his career. I don't know. I don't like the jock in this situation. 8, 5, 10. Churchtown, my second favorite play of the entire summer after Arcangelo. Howard, out.
Okay, I gotta respond to Boss Man. No, one of us has to respond to Boss Man, so I'm gonna take the turn because he was just giving us the whole why we're wrong. Now, I don't have anything against Leperoux. It's more so, again, as we touched on earlier, you and me, Kyle, it's the fact that Luis Saez, which you've talked about plenty of times, is just the best in the business at executing the type of trip that I believe and you believe Churchtown needs. And I'll tell you why Annapolis is turning back this quickly. It's not just because of the money. It's because of what you touched on. It's because this field for $2 million looks like a joke. I mean, if you look at this field and if you look at the other competition, nobody's been running in the level of competition that Annapolis has. Annapolis is running in all these different grade 1s, running the BC Mile, Turf Mile grade 1, and the grade 1 in the most recent race, going against the Costa Creed Tour, the top horses. You look at these other horses, you'd say Costa Creed is going to go walk the dog, go drink some coffee, interact with Patrick in the winner's circle, and then actually go take some photos of Patrick, sign an autograph, with the hoof, and then go win the race. So that's why I think Annapolis is 8-5. I think the reality is there's some certainly interesting horses. Again, for me, this race gets me so excited because of the fact that I think there's money to be made for days if you play the exactas. That's where, for me personally, as a bettor, it gets me excited, is when I feel strongly about a horse. I love it. I think Annapolis is just a whole different breed compared to this field.
Could
I think
be.
that's why you are going to
like we talked about, I don't think this field's really as good as it's made out to be, but
I agree.
And one thing I will say about Howard's point is he is very right in the point that I think Annapolis was brought back to this race because it was too good of a spot for $2 million.
Agreed,
I don't think they wanted to bring him back this quick, but like I said, if he runs near that 100, he could be very live. I just think he sits a nice trip. Could Churchtown sit the same exact trip and be better off the little bit of a layoff from Woodbine? Absolutely. I got to respect the boss man's opinion because obviously you two having him in second. He's going to be in the horizontal play if I do end up playing it this Saturday. But Churchtown is extremely interesting. And maybe I am wrong with Ancient Rome, but I do think he can cut back a little bit to the mile. And I think he's better than he's made out to be, especially in a field that's not exactly the strongest. But I'm going 10-6-5. Patrick's going 10-8-2. Charlie's going 10-8-6. Guys, we'll go through the last race fairly quickly, as I know we are approaching that hour mark, but it is 6.5 furlongs, another maiden special weight, $150,000, but it is for the fillies this time around. And it draws, again, surprise, surprise, another full field of 12 with 4 also eligibles. The morning line favorite is the number 9, Cowichan for John Velasquez, Wesley Ward, and if you're willing to take the bet, if you're keeping check at home, Charlie would be going with the Wesley Ward again. Both Charlie and I have Kowichin on top. Patrick has the number 4, Riviere on top for Jose Ortiz and George Weaver, who is the second choice at 7-2, and the third choice is the number 12 on the outside. Another Kelsey Danner live runner with Adam Beshizzle My Nizzle aboard. But guys, switching over to the PPs right now. Patrick, you are the odd man out, so you are going to go first. What'd you like most about Riviere?
Yeah, I do like Riviere a lot in this spot. On debut, horse got off slow, fought back and finished well. Then last out, taken off the turf, Saratoga, end of July. Horse wanted nothing to do with the dirt. The horse has been training fantastic up at Saratoga. George Weaver has been fantastic in a spot like this with a horse coming back. I just think in a race where you look at the alternatives, the 9 Kowichin, who is the class of the field, but is like the other Ward horse early on in the sequence. This horse just hasn't won, and the horse has been bet as the favorite in pretty much every race. So,
as my brother goes Optimus Prime a little bit, I don't disagree with him what he's saying.
Let me tell him why he's wrong.
All right, yeah. Well, you and I both have the same one on top, so it's up to you. You're back, Optimus Prime.
Yeah, I'm back. I guess I was ranting too much about why Wesley Ward is. No. Listen, like I said with Riviere, I just think this horse is going to improve, and at good odds over a Ward horse who needs to show me this horse can win.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And I mean, improving back off the 69, came back, ran him on the off the turf dirt last time out and just didn't run a steps. But coming back to the turf, I think Riviere is definitely interesting, as I have the horse also in third. But Charlie, Kowichin on top, same thing as me. I know he hasn't shown that he likes to get to the wire first, but 5 in the money finishes, and the buyer's just steadily improving every time.
Yeah, I mean, the buyers are just way over this entire field. I mean, I think Kowichin, we covered this horse before because this horse was supposed to run a different race, I believe, that we covered, but the race got scratched off, and the horse was the favorite in that field, and it was in a field similar to this, except honestly, I think that field was stronger than this, and I still was very strong in feeling that she would end up winning that race. I feel the same here. Ultimately didn't want to end up, with a race like this after all those stakes races, making one of these my best bets. I just think wouldn't have been fair. I wanted to keep it with more of the main event races. Yeah, I think Kowichin's going to be very tough in this spot. I know the horse hasn't gotten the job done yet, but look, I mean, has run against all solid fields, hasn't run a bad race. I know hasn't quite gotten the job done, but I just don't see anyone in this field that's really going to scare me off enough from a figures or workouts or anything perspective that makes me think that Wesley should be worried about not getting home. Also love having Johnny V pick the horse up again. I'm a little disappointed, Kyle, that you won all 3 chalk. I was hoping you'd pull a me maybe and Patrick and at least pick one horse, to throw in there as a little underdog. I am happy that Patrick had the same thought as me, though, because I think Calm Cool at 10-1 is way too high for this horse. I mean, I know the efforts haven't been anything screaming, but if this horse can, just not sit as far back and, be a little more close up, but also, as you've mentioned here, where the distance actually feels longer than it really is, and with a lot of horses in this field, they're going to have to go. I think the 7 Calm Cool is going to sit a really nice trip, still has very solid figures and is working forwardly. And is certainly a horse to look for to play underneath and could bring a great value over one of the, chalk horses that me, Kyle, and Patrick have all going for, as we're all on the 2 main horses are going to be bet on. And then for my last one, I'll let you talk more on the 12 because I know you like to talk about Kelsey Danner's horses. But my quick thing was, the horse has only run once, but ran really nicely on debut on a race that the horse didn't really take much money on, but, ran a very respectable third and a tough pace to deal with for a horse that likes to be towards the front or want to be towards the front with a hot pace. I certainly think Sickle Dance is nice. But yeah, I just think for this race, you kind of got to pick one of the chalks and then figure out who you want to put underneath to try to bring in some value.
Yeah, and look, I did think about Calm Cool, but he just didn't run well enough at a mile to make me think he's going to like the 6.5 more. But I just think this race will have to really melt down, in my opinion, for Calm Cool. That's what I just couldn't make a case for a lot of the other horses, but Calm Cool would be the one that outside of my top 3 I would have. And also, I'm pulling the trigger, Jim. I'm taking the kicker in the 9th round. We're doing it, and that's Justin Tucker, by the way. But I'm also taking defense after it, so we're just gonna bool. But T is too good. I agree with you, Charlie. But I think the number 12, Kelsey Danner, if there's with Kelsey, Adam Bashizzle, I think if there's one horse going to be coming from the back a little bit of ways, stretching out in distance, I think the number 12, Sickle Dance, is definitely a better horse to have, in my opinion, than the number 7, Calm Cool. I think he just sits a little bit closer, a better trip. I love the outside post, slot in too wide, just be able to have a good run at the top of the stretch. And with that long stretch of Kentucky Downs, I hope to see Sickle Dance sitting on the outside, maybe 3 in the 3, 4, 5 path, running down the leaders. I think Sickle Dance is extremely interesting, especially with the Irish mile bred. I think she strike 2, not a strike 3 yet, but strike 2, drink if you're out there. I think number 12 is extremely interesting. And obviously with number 4, Riviere, I thought was also interesting, but he's just going to have to improve off that last race, and he's going to sit around the same trip as the number 12, although a little bit more inside post, so maybe he'll get a better run to the first turn, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going 9, 12, 4. Patrick's going 4, 9, 7, and Charlie's going 9, 12, 7. Guys, I want to just say real quick, thank you guys so much, everybody, for joining the show that has joined up. We've had great viewership all night long, so obviously all we can do is thank you guys. Obviously, smash that like button, hit subscribe, because tomorrow the boys will be live. Howard, Pete, and Paul will be going over Pacific Classic Day in the late pick 5. You won't want to miss that. That is at 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. If you're watching this on Wednesday, tomorrow, Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But guys, we'll get into our best bets here before we end the show. Charlie's best bets, we're going to go to him first. 2 ice cold doubles, which I like to respect a lot. He's going with, in race number 3, a race that we didn't talk about, double 2 into the 6, and then the 10th race going with Annapolis into the number 9, Kowichin in the last race. Charlie, go ahead and talk about your best bets.
Yeah, so I'll start with race 10 first, because that'll just be the quick one. We already touched on, I think it's Annapolis's race to lose. As long as the horse breaks clean and sits a decent trip, has no excuses to not get the job done. And then as I touched on with the Wesley Ward horse, I know the horse hasn't gotten the job done yet, but the figures match, the competition matches. I picked the horse before and was very strong in opinion on this horse. I'm not going to switch up now that the race should hopefully, remain on the turf. And then for my double in races 3 and 4, I mean, come on, there's one other Wesley Ward horse on this card, Arrest Me Red, and what's another exciting field, takes a drop down in competition. This horse continuously has just been right there, but ultimately, has been running in grade 1 and grade 2, some of the best fields in the world, consistently amazing figures, and now it drops all the way down to an allowance of 180,000, just significantly weaker
all the
field.
way down. All the way down.
Well, I mean,
$180,000 allowance rates.
Well, I mean,
I'm just messing with you, dude.
I mean, yeah, compared to grade 1s and grade 2s,
I agree with you.
Compared to the Caravels and No Balls of the world, shout out Kyle's horse, No Balls. But yeah,
my horse. I wish that was my horse.
I like this. I like this drop down again. Johnny V picking up the mount always gets me excited. And I just think this major drop down in competition will make it easy. And then into race 4, going with the number 6, Current Climate. Ran a huge step forward after that rough 62 figure up to an 87 and lost by a nose. Was right there, has been training with great bullets with a 47, a 47, a 48 in a minute. This horse is working very forwardly. The figures, in my opinion, based off of what you can see on the field, are overwhelmingly stronger than every other horse in this field, other than maybe like the 4 or 3. But even then, it's really just, for me, no other horse in that field really stuck out to me. And again, honestly, I didn't want to just give out a favorite Wesley Ward horse on its own. So I looked for an opportunity to do a double or exacta within that race. Ended up choosing to go the double route. So those are my 2 best bets.
Hey, I love it. And like I said, there's a double connoisseur myself. I love the aggressive, because that's where you make your best. And with Kentucky Downs and these types of fields, you're going to get value no matter where you look. So good luck with your best bets on Saturday, Charlie. And Patrick, your best bets, you're going race 7, Dutch doubles, 4, 8, and 9 with the 6. And then race 11, the win on the number 4, Riviere. Patrick, talk about your best bets.
Yeah, listen, in the first leg, I do like I like the 2 prices, and then Elegant Trip, who, will be the second or the third choice. So I'm going to play doubles into Talk of the Nation. And then in the 11th, Revere. Listen, I just think that horse is going to improve. And I'm against the favorite in that spot, so I'll bet that horse to win at odds of 7-2 or greater.
And hopefully, like I said, you'll get that type of those types of odds, as there is 2 other horses that look to take money in that spot. Patrick, good luck with your best bets. And my 2 best bets, and for some reason I don't have the race number in there. Must have deleted it. My apologies. But race number 7, a win on the number 12 straight and level I talked about after that last race of the 72 buyer, now coming onto the turf where he has a lot of turf breeding. Working forwardly, I think straight and level from the outside gate is going to be extremely interesting on Saturday. And in the race number 9, I'm singling number 1, Dance Macabre, who I will also be playing a win bet on from that inside draw. And then I'm taking into the next race with the number 6, the Euro. I believe I cannot. I'm so bad with names. I cannot do this, guys. You know that. The number 6, Ancient Rome, and the number 10, Annapolis, looking to get both sides of the spectrum, with the horse being close to the pace in Annapolis and one most likely being off the pace with Ancient Rome, the Euro. Hopefully one of those 2 can get home for a nice payout on our side. So guys, that is going to be the episode 37 for Bettin and Boozin for Kentucky Downs on Saturday. Again, we wouldn't be here without you guys. Thank you guys all so much for joining in. We've had great viewership all night long. Cannot thank you guys enough as we continue to move on with Bettin and Boozin. I know a lot of you guys are talking about the takeout situation with Kentucky Downs. I'm not too happy about it either, although it is still one of the lowest takeouts in the nation. But we will see you guys all tomorrow, as Howard posted in the chat, and that's what I'll leave out on. But tomorrow is the amazing preview of the Pacific Classic, the late all stakes late pick 5 at Del Mar. It is obviously their premiere day for the entire meet. You guys do not want to miss tomorrow night's show at 8 p.m. Eastern, talking about the Pacific Classic and all the races around with Pete, Paul, and Howard. But guys, for my co-host, Patrick Kunsel and Charlie Freeman, this has been your host, Kyle Roscoe, in episode number 37 of Bettin and Boozin. Good luck on all your bets on Saturday, Kentucky Downs. And you know what to do. Crush those bets on Saturday. Have a great night, everybody.